Welcome into Let It Ride. I am your host, Luke Liddon. So, how the Pockets feeling? Hoping they were a little deeper. Wishing you had a little something extra to play with. Don't fret, because that's why we're here, to find the best opportunity and to hopefully cash in. From the NBA playoffs to the NHL to the Diamond, we have you covered with all the best plays. And as a matter of fact, we are going international for the first time in Let It Ride history, crossing the border over to Nova Scotia, where we find our betting analyst, Andrew McInnes, where you can find most of his content over on Wager Talk. Andrew, how's the weather out there in beautiful Canada?
I'm finally seeing the sun. I mean, when it's the NHL playoffs, that's how I know it's springtime. Great to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, far east coast of Canada, that means hockey's my staple, but it does not mean I can't talk some NBA, can't talk some baseball. Ready for it all here, Luke.
We love it. We're happy to have you on. You know, I'm curious about your story. Did you grow up in Canada, and how did you get into this space?
Grew up in the far east coast of Canada, always had a passion for broadcasting, for sports broadcasting, sports journalism. And then, of course, as gambling started to grow and grow and grow, became more popular, I mixed the two. Started doing podcasts about sports betting, started doing interviews with other fellow handicappers, started doing content myself, joined Wager Talk, and the rest is history. I just love the mix of both. I mean, it's one thing to talk about sports, but to get to predict, make your game selections, player props, it's all just a blast.
You can never go wrong, and we know you're a true Canadian because you say a boat. You got the little accent there. That's how we know it's the real deal.
You know what? Everybody has their accents, right? And you don't know you have one until someone points it out. So definitely got to bring some Canadian sayings to the show. We'll see if we can get more out there for the rest of the show.
We love it. Let's get this thing rolling. First matchup on the docket. It's a good series between the Thunder and the Mavs, and I promise we will get to hockey in just a moment. But first, basketball, Dallas. We know they can close it out at home in Game 6. Who you riding with in this matchup? I'm interested in your thoughts.
I know people like to bet overs, okay? Don't get me wrong. Overs are exciting. But in this series in particular, we have seen 3 straight games go under the total. We're seeing much more 5-on-5 play, less fast breaks, less guys getting to the hoop early into the shot clock. They're working it. They're running more plays. We're seeing a lot more sets and fewer free throws as well. I'm going to go under in this game and expect a defensive battle here. As far as OKC, you know, they're a team that is fast. They've got youth. They're a very young team. But I believe they get a little bit too excited, a little bit too hectic on the fast break. For me, slowing the game down is the best way to go. We'll take the under in this one.
And I know the under isn't always the sexiest pick. People want to bet more points, more dunks, all that good stuff. But we're looking for value here. We're looking at the matchups, especially with Luka Doncic, with like 7 different injuries to his body, his knee, his back. They do tend to play a lot more iso ball. I do think under is probably the best play in this matchup. And, you know, it's always fun to dissect the game on another level with those player props. And interesting, your choice, you're siding with one player in particular on the Thunder, and he's not the biggest star on the team either, right?
No, he's definitely not the biggest star in the team. And I'll tell you what, his numbers, I mean, his playing time is going down, down every single game. But you know what that also means? The prop numbers are down. Josh Giddey, we're taking his over on points plus assists here. The number is at 7.5. He's averaging double digits over his last 10 games as far as his points are concerned. For me, when I look at this one, we have seen him go over this number in 7 of his last 10 games. And whether or not he's out there a ton and getting his usual minutes, when he's out there for a reason. In particular, I love combining the points plus assists because he could go out there and be a facilitator, moving the ball around, or he could be creating his own shot. And for this guy, if he gets you 1 or 2 threes, you're already close to being over that number.
That number is so low, it's hard not to take the bait on that wager. I'm curious, would you maybe roll the dice, speaking of player combos, on Luka Doncic over 19.5 rebounds and assists? That's a line he's covered in 3 straight in this matchup.
I absolutely love that. I love that. When you mentioned the injuries he's dealing with, and when you talk about a player dealing with injuries, you don't just bet against their points and go under. You find other ways to make money betting the overs. You know how it is. People love to bet overs. They want to bet on something good to happen. And with Doncic not scoring, he's still creating in other ways. Double-digit assist numbers is an everyday occurrence for him at this point. I love that prop with the assists and rebounds.
Okay, there you go, viewers at home. You got two little props to choose from that Mavericks-Thunder matchup. And now we got to move on to the two best words in all of sports, Game 7. Timberwolves-Nuggets, they are heavy favorites in this matchup, as you'd expect. Are you going to lean with the heavy chalk here, or you might side with the T-Wolves instead in Game 7?
I'll take the favorite. I'll take the more experienced team. I'll take the team looking to bounce back. If there's one thing we've learned from the NBA playoffs this year especially, it's that a previous game does not matter. They could lose by 20, lose by 40. It's all about Game 7. And one thing we've seen in this series, whichever team wins the first half wins the full game here. But I think after the absolute beatdown, I think they go back to the drawing board. I really do respect Michael Malone and the coaching staff of the Nuggets. To me, the best bet in Game 7 would be Jokic, Murray, the rest of the club winning the first half on the spread.
Interesting. I like that one. Instead of waiting the whole game, because I know it is a little pricey, I see there at minus 188 for the viewers at home. That means you got to bet $188 just to profit 100. First half money line, a little bit cheaper there for the bettor at home. You can just take the money and run after just one half of basketball. Hard to go against the favorites there. I like that bet. As for a player prop, what'd you find that you're targeting between these two teams in Game 7?
No matter what the sport is, I'm a fan of depth players. As you saw, I took Giddey over that 7.5 number. I like taking the low-hanging fruit. Well, we could take Jokic, we could take Murray, but how about Michael Porter Jr.? When the team is shooting well, it opens things up on the inside, and the paint game becomes much stronger. Michael Porter Jr., when this team wins games, he's shooting the ball very well. I like him over 2.5 3-pointers. You can get that around even money. He creates space for everybody. And what's that old joke about MPJ? He's never seen a shot he didn't like. I think he'll be shooting a ton in Game 7. We'll take him over 2.5 made 3-pointers.
It seems like easy money, doesn't it? But you know what's funny? The last time I bet MPJ, I think a week or two ago, he went over, of course. Just my luck, but of course, if I didn't bet it, he probably would have made 7 threes. That's just how it seems to go when I'm placing wagers. But I have faith it will not happen again. That's what I'm relying on for Game 7 between these two teams. All right, it would be a crime if I did not include hockey in the show with a true Canadian in our presence. An all-Canadian series between the Oilers and Canucks. It's funny because before this series started, there was talk of how there wasn't much of a playoff rivalry between these two teams with their last series happening some 3 decades ago, but it was Vancouver who pulled off the comeback in Game 5 to take that one-game series lead, 3-2 as it stands now, as we head back to Edmonton. Quick geography lesson here, Andrew. How far, I really don't know this, how far apart are Edmonton and Vancouver? Are they close? Are they far? What does that look like?
It's a flight. It's a flight. It's a decent flight here. So it's not, they're not neighbors by any means. If it was Edmonton versus Calgary, that would be an in-province or in-state rivalry. It's a little bit different here, but they're still both out there on the west coast of Canada.
Okay. Well, the more you know, right? And speaking of, who you got once the puck drops?
So first, I'll start with this. The price we saw at the start of this series was way bigger than it should have been. The books were not giving nearly enough credit towards the Vancouver Canucks, and I think they've played fantastic throughout this series. But I do think this series reaches 7 games, and I'm going to bet the team total over for the Edmonton Oilers. They need to go back to Edmonton Oilers hockey. It's all about their speed. It's about drawing penalties, capitalizing. They are the best power play team in the playoffs here. They've got the best player on the planet with McDavid. They've got Draisaitl, but the depth pieces have to show up. They need Nugent Hopkins. They need Warren Foegele. But when this team scores 4 goals, they win. When they win games, they also score 4 goals. There's only been 2 times so far this playoffs they've won a game and have not scored at least 4 goals. I believe the speed will be too much for Vancouver in this desperation spot. Edmonton reaches 4 goals. And the best part about this wager, there's been games this playoffs, Edmonton has had 4 goals and lost the game. So it doesn't matter win or lose. Get me to 4.
Exactly. Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, it's really hard to go against those studs, especially when they're at home. I'm just glad McDavid doesn't have a broken jaw with what happened at the end of, what was it, Game 4? That was insane. What were your thoughts on that? I know I played hockey my whole life. You're a hockey guy. I get the roughhousing of it and protecting your goalie and things of that nature, but that was a pretty brutal injury, or pretty brutal shot, I should say, to McDavid.
I just don't understand how Vancouver fans were arguing against the suspension there.
I
I mean,
know.
the fact that it was just one game, they're lucky.
Crazy.
It was a cross-check in the back. He falls forwards. He gets a cross-check in the face. You know, I'll say this. In any other league, if a star player has that happen to them, what's the suspension? I mean, the fact of the matter is, if it was any other player, we probably aren't talking about this, but the league has to protect the star players.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just happy he'll be in this matchup, and hopefully he'll add some insult to injury, and they'll get over that team total of 3.5. Priced at minus 118 odds as well. Pretty good value there when you look at that total. Okay, over the Diamond, D-backs, talking some baseball. They're a hard team to gauge early in the season, but they're facing the Detroit Tigers in this weekend series. The Snakes' offense, it's been uninspiring at times, with consistency, I think, being one of the most volatile pieces of this ball club. But they have won 3 of their last 4. They're hoping to creep above 500 on the season with the series win against the Tigers. But like I mentioned, Andrew, D-backs, they can be tricky at times to place a wager on. But that is why we have you here with us on this week's episode. And we're looking at that Saturday matchup. What's a bet you like the most at first glance?
Consistency is certainly an issue here with the D-backs. You know, they go on a run where they're scoring 5, 6 plus each game. Then they get a little bit dry. But in this contest, I like the over here. Looking at Gallen, he has looked good this season, but he's given up at least 1 home run in 3 of his last 4 starts. And a couple of those, 2, if not 3 home runs. Flaherty, the other pitcher going, he's given up at least 6 hits in 3 of his last 4 starts. To me, these offenses will come alive in this game, and the bullpens are very questionable. Unlike many, I have both the Diamondbacks and the Tigers bullpen ranked in my bottom 10. I like the over in this one. I think Gallen gets touched up more than people expect, and I don't think Flaherty's a great pitcher. I think he struggles this weekend.
You know, sometimes the truth hurts, but I'm probably right there with you in terms of the bullpen being in the bottom half of the league. They've always had issues with that, the D-backs, and it seems to be continuing at least up to this point in the season. I am curious what those props would look like from the mound. Zach Gallen specifically, you mentioned he's been giving up a home run quite a few times in the outings when he's been on the diamond. We know the Detroit offense has struggled a little bit as of late. Gallen, he's done pretty well so far up to this point in the season. I'm curious what you think about his strikeout prop, if the number is right. We don't know that number quite yet, but we know he's tallied 6 or more Ks in 3 of his last 5 outings. I think I would maybe side with Gallen in his Ks this coming Saturday, but I know you mentioned the over. Do you think you would steer clear of that prop bet with Gallen and just kind of side with the over instead of his individual Ks prop?
I like what you said there because it's interesting. Even if we were to take the over, it doesn't mean his K prop couldn't go over as well. You know, that's just the style of pitchers. Some pitchers, they might rack up 4, 5, 6 Ks, but still have 2, 3, 4 earned runs while they're out there. Just have maybe 1 or 2 bad innings that end up kind of making their start become a disaster. So I would look towards that, but I'll tell you what, Flaherty, he is a strikeout machine, but he still gives up a ton of runs. So overall, I think what I would do is actually look towards the over for Flaherty because you're actually going to get a better number for him.
See, that's why we bring you on, get some extra analysis to see where you stand in that regard. But you know, switching gears, I do have to ask, how's your golf swing? How is that?
Golf swing is not looking good. I'm golfing tomorrow, and you could say I could use a couple more sessions at the range. I need to go join you in Arizona and actually get some lessons maybe. I don't know how good of a golfer you are, but when you live where I live, the weather's not nice for very long. You have to go to simulators. You have to be golfing inside, find some spots. But I'm getting out tomorrow, so I look forward to it. How about you?
Yeah, you know, the golf swing isn't that great. I mean, is it ever, though? I think we're just more amateur weekend warriors in a sense. Make sure you have a couple cocktails, and you're having a good time with the boys, right? That's what it really all comes down to. Not really how many birdies or triple bogeys you might be dropping into the cup. So maybe it's better just to rely on the actual pros in the PGA Championship. I just hope we don't get arrested like Scotty Scheffler did. We'll touch on that in just a moment. It's a jam-packed leaderboard at Valhalla right now. Some big names hanging out near the top of the leaderboard. Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, even Scheffler putting together a strong Friday despite that early morning fiasco. We know this is one of the hardest sports to wager on, but you have said you have a few futures in play, and one of those is currently atop the leaderboard. Is that who you're kind of keeping your eye on throughout the weekend?
I have not placed any bets on any more people to be arrested. That's one thing. So sharp money's flying in on no more arrests throughout the rest of the weekend. But I do think Morikawa continues to play some great golf. One thing I like about Morikawa, he is just very even-keeled.
Yeah.
He plays mistake-free golf. If he has a bad swing, you wouldn't even be able to tell by his facial expression. And even at the pros, not just people like you and I, it's really important for those guys to not get bothered by bad plays here. For him, despite leading, you're still getting a great price. He has a handful of top 3 finishes and more than 35 top 10 finishes over the last number of years. I'm a huge fan of Morikawa, but Hovland to me is someone that presents a ton of value. I'm in on Hovland. He had a tremendous start. He was top 10 after round 1 finish. He started playing later on today. And just the way he plays, his iron game, his approaches has been unbelievable. He was putting fantastic on Thursday, excuse me. I think Hovland right now would be a great future bet to take.
That's a good one, too. You know, it's funny. They're very even-keeled. They keep that emotion under control. But for amateur golfers like us, I think it's a very different story when we hit the tee box compared to what these pros do on a weekly basis. Andrew, we really appreciate the time and insight, man, for hopping on the show. Thanks again so much, and best of luck with those wagers this coming weekend.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Alrighty, we all know nothing is certain in life but death and taxes and maybe Luke's lock. Back in the win column once again. Time now to make it 2 in a row with another edition of Luke's Lock here on Let It Ride. You know, I was tempted to roll with Luka Doncic with this pick for his combined rebounds and assists total, but instead, I'm going on the defensive end with Thunder big man Chet Holmgren over 2.5 blocks at -110 odds. Bet $110 to profit 100. Yes, he only registered 1 block in Game 5, but he has cleared this line in 3 of the last 5 games in this series and is averaging 2.8 blocks per game in this series as well. So all you're asking Chet to do is hit his average. I think the value is just too good to pass on. So I'm locking it in. Chet Holmgren over 2.5 blocks in this week's Luke's Lock. That'll do it for us here on this week of Let It Ride. Lots of high-stakes playoff action on the slate as we inch closer to the NBA and Stanley Cup Final. We'll be back next week to break down where everything stands headed into the weekend. But until then, best of luck with all your action. I'm Luke Liddon, and as always, thanks for watching and let it ride.